Hello, everyone. Um, Welcome back to the podcast. He is a bird, or the vlogcast, I guess. I don't know what you would call it. I'm not really firing on full cylinders, as you can probably tell. I am tired. I had a tough time falling asleep. I had a tough time staying asleep because I was very excited for this draft. So I'm just gonna record myself watching it and give some feedback, and probably put that out as um, a YouTube video. So I got my yogurt. My wife very much makes, or very well makes, I guess, every morning yogurt from my wife. And I got my coffee, which I will eat. Ooh, I put too much sweetener in that. Um, yeah, so I think I got everything I need. Got my He Has a Bird shirt, and let's go.
I wonder how it's going to look being virtual. Narrated by Peyton Manning, of course. That was a pretty cool intro. I could listen to Peyton Manning talk about anything, though. Especially Hope. That's a crazy shot. Caesar's Palace and the entire strip just being shut down. Interesting. I'm excited to see Roger Goodell in his basement trying to talk. At least he won't get booed. At least he won't get booed, which is kind of sad because that was a draft tradition starting to be. Yeah, that was kind of sad to find out that that Todd McShay has coronavirus and he wouldn't be able to do it. Because I always enjoy, sad that he has it, but sad for me because I always enjoy listening to him and Mel Kiper yell at each other, disagree. So that's going to be unfortunate. Boo! Boo! I hope everybody's booing. Boo! Did they always do the national anthem at the draft? Still getting that commercial money though. NFL raking it. Yeah, right. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. That's good. They still boom. Okay, I like that. That was funny. At least he embraces it. I like that. I mean, why wouldn't he? Makes $50 million a year. Who cares? Who cares? They're showing Joe Burrow just sitting in his living room with his parents, just grasping his phone. I can only imagine what that feels like, that anxiety or suspense, like that man's life. I mean, it's going to change forever no matter what today, but being the number one overall pick changes your life. Hmm. The graphics they're using is pretty funny. I think they have. I guess they have to. The graphics guys. This pandemic has really given them job security. That's funny. They're doing like a Zoom conference. It'd be so bad if they didn't draft Joe Burrow with all this. They're talking about him and showing his house. What if they like Chase Young? You know, that would be awkward. But I mean, they have to go with Burrow. You would think at least, but that dude is special. But it was only for 1 year, which is interesting. You'd think a guy who's so successful puts together the most dominant NFL season we've ever seen, that shut up, Lewis Riddick, that he would be successful throughout his entire career, and that wasn't the case. Got beat out of Ohio State. Had an okay season. I mean, I like the 16-5. That's a good ratio. But some people I don't know, Haskins puts together 50-5 or whatever he did in college. So, you know, he played 13 games, threw 16 touchdowns his first year at LSU. And obviously it takes time to develop, but you would think a future number one pick wouldn't get beat out and wouldn't have a mediocre season and then just have this blow-up season. So it'd be interesting. But I'm a huge Joe Burrow fan. Even the picture with the cigar after the national championship, and I don't know, he just has this swagger about him, and they said it earlier, you know, that man comes to play in big games. I think they said there was 5 teams that finished in the top 10 that he played last season, and he had 22 touchdowns, no interceptions against them last year. I mean, Joe cool. Better than Joe Exotic. Booker McFarland's kind of ugly. His forehead looks pushed down. He looks like a teenage Ninja Turtle. Yeah, that was cool. If you haven't seen his Heisman Trophy speech, go watch it. It was really, really cool. For multiple reasons. He talked about poverty in Ohio, which I'm sure is what they're talking about now. Yeah, Southeast Ohio is one of the most impoverished parts. But he also talked about his head coach, Ed Orgeron. And I mean, I liked watching Joe play before this, but after watching his speech, I became a Joe Burrow fan. Like, really a fan. I hope he does really well. Super cool. There's a jar of M&Ms on his desk. So, Bengals take Burrow. That's awesome. Good for him. Like I said, I think the dude is super talented. What he was able to do. You know, it's kind of shitty. Everything is not the way it usually is, and everybody's kind of been affected by this pandemic. But I think it's unfortunate for these kids because they're losing this experience that everybody else gets. Like, I think getting your name called, I can only imagine, getting your name called, going up on stage, giving Roger Goodell a hug, like, that's cool. And that's unfortunate that they're not able to experience that. Dude is so accurate. And the craziest thing is his pocket presence. But my man is so accurate and a sneaky athlete. Sneaky good athlete. I'm gonna watch the Bengals next year purely just to see him play. And man, I really hope he does well. You never know with quarterback. There's been some really, really good college quarterbacks that haven't translated to the NFL. But with his accuracy and his pocket presence, it'd be really surprising if he didn't succeed at the NFL level. he has a Bengals hat. Does he have a hat from every team? Or did he know? I'll be interested to see how many other people have the hats of the team. Maybe they just sent him a hat from every team. Yeah, Zach Taylor. Don't fuck it up. Huh. So they're saying he's Brady for the pocket presence, Goff for throwing on the run, or accuracy throwing on the run, and Ryan Tannehill for escapability. So he's Tom Gannahill. Tom Toff. Tom Toff. He's wearing a Nike shirt. Good for Nike. And good for Joe Burrow. I don't think that's an accident. Washington's on the clock. The Redskins are on the clock, and they're showing Chase Young. And I think that's what they should do. People are talking about drafting Burrow, Tua or Herbert. I think if you can get an elite pass rusher, you just take it. You do it, and especially when you have a first-round quarterback from last year. You traded for Kyle Allen. They're going to compete and just if you can get, I don't know, Von Miller. If you can get who was kind of the guy before that, like a Strahan, or even if you get like a JPP that is so good for so long before he blew his hand off, that's a super valuable player. Maybe second most valuable to a quarterback. So they took Chase Young. That's what they should have done. Good for them. Good for them. Now this draft class is so deep at offensive players, maybe not quarterback, but just see what you have in Haskins. And if you suck again next year, try to get Trevor Lawrence. And then maybe you end up 2 drafts in a row where you have the best player because Chase Young is supposed to be best player in the draft. But the NFL draft is so deep this year at skill players, which they need a receiver. They need a tight end, which is not the best tight end class. But they've been in talks. Rumor has it they've been in talks with O.J. Howard or Tampa Bay for O.J. Howard, which would be awesome for them. If they could get a tight end, maybe draft another receiver because they have 2 rookies that were, obviously Terry McLaurin was a beast last year, and then they drafted 2 more besides him, Calvin Harmon and Sims. They probably need another one or get a veteran. But and then probably take another running back. But they're young all over the place on offense. If they can get a few more weapons, and with this addition to the defense, they have holes everywhere. But that's why I thought they might trade out of this pick to get more draft picks because they need everything. But I think it was smart because an elite pass rusher is just hard to find. John Gruden. The dude is a freak. They're showing some of his highlights. The dude is a freak. Pro Football Focus said that he's the best edge player they've ever evaluated. Like if they can get, look at what is it Nick Bosa or Joey Bosa? Nick Bosa. Joey Bosa's for the Chargers. Look at what Nick Bosa did for 49ers. Obviously they were a much more complete team, but the dude just wreaks havoc. They're comparing him to Jadeveon Clowney. Not the worst comparison. And we're back. Had a meeting. I still have a job. Now the Lions are on the clock, and the pick is in. I think they'll probably pick that that corner from Ohio State who seems like a really, really good football player. Really, really good. Yeah, Jeff Okuda. So everything's gone as planned thus far. But this dude seems like a really, really good football player. He had an ESPN thing the other day, an interview, and they were talking about how his mom suffered from leukemia for a long time and died several years back, and just how challenging it was, and that his mom wasn't able to be around because she was going through chemo. And then, so he seems like a really good dude. But they showed clips of him, and dude can play some football. And the Lions just got rid of Darius Slay, so they basically got rid of him. I think, did they trade him? But he's no longer on the team anymore. He went to the Eagles, I believe. I could be wrong. I could cut all of this. But I don't think I am. Yeah, he's at the Eagles, but I can't remember if he was in free agency. I think they traded him. But yeah, they basically just replaced him, which is great because Darius Slay is really, really talented, but now they have a cheaper version and a younger version. That's pretty crazy that the top 3 picks were all teammates at one time. And it's pretty crazy that Ohio State had 2 defensive players as pick 2 and 3. Still couldn't slow down LSU. No, they couldn't beat Clemson, and then Clemson couldn't slow down LSU. Excuse me. But I wonder how many times that's actually happened in the league. That's really, really impressive. Commercial. Yeah, the New York Giants picked an offensive tackle, which they were supposed to. It's just kind of a question of who. There was a kid from Bama, there was a kid from Iowa, and they went with a kid from Georgia, which I'm not sure the pros and cons. I know the kid from Iowa didn't have the best foot speed. The kid from Bama did have the foot speed, was raw, but they went with the All-American out of Georgia. So I don't know. I don't have a ton to say. I think it's more of a preference thing, but picking an offensive tackle was what they were supposed to do. So it's interesting. Everything's going on par, and as much as talk about trading up with the Lions or trading up with the Redskins, neither of those happened. So now Miami's on, which is the big question. Is people think they're going to pick quarterback, but which one? And it was always Tua. But as of lately, it's the reports are Herbert, which we'll see. This tackle from Georgia, they're showing their highlight film. This dude is an absolute animal. He's just knocking people on their asses the entire time. He had a Giants hat too, but I don't know if Dave Gettleman's putting on a mask even though he's sitting in a room by himself. That seems strange. They're talking about all the players the Dolphins have traded and they become Pro Bowlers elsewhere, which is pretty funny. Tannehill, Tunzel, and what is it? Minka Fitzpatrick, Minka for the Steelers, and he was first team All Pro. At least they got a first for him. But that's cool. They're showing Tua's family, and they're all dressed up in the Hawaiian stuff. I think it's super cool from like a culture standpoint to have really specific subculture in America, but that they embrace it. I think that's super cool. And Tua looks like he has no idea what's about to happen. He's like, Looks good though. Nice suit. Ah, he they drafted Tua. Goodell really struggled with his names, but I think it's a Tagovailoa. Doesn't roll off the tongue. But I'm good. That's happy. I'm happy. I would have been upset if they would have went with Herbert because that wouldn't have made sense. Like they have a guy in Fitzmagic that come in, let him play a full season. You know, just like hey, 2020, if we play, hopefully, Fitzpatrick, it's yours. Tua, we're just gonna work on your body, work on your body, work on your body, and make sure that in 2021 you are ready. The dislocated hip. You are ready to come play. You know what I mean? Like your body. We spent a year with you, and there's without a doubt you're in the best physical condition to play. And I think that's all you can do. And I think it's a great plan because they just got the guy everybody considered to be the 1-1 before last season, before Burrow went off, before his injury, and they got him at 5. So the whole tanking for Tua thing worked, but they actually won some games at the end of the year and still got their guy and probably built some team chemistry that they wouldn't have built otherwise. So that makes me happy. I think that's really, 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 really cool. Good for him because he seems like I'm a fan of him too. I think he seems like a great person, and it's cool that he's in a good spot. They're talking about the AFC East being quarterbacks, and that's pretty interesting. If if the Patriots get a new quarterback, a promising one, if they're able to trade up in the draft, which I don't think so, but there's some really young, promising quarterbacks in that division now, with Tua, Josh Allen, and Sam Darnold. That's pretty cool. The NFL comparison is Steve Young, which I think is easy because Steve Young's a lefty too, and so is Tua. But I think it's even if they weren't the same handedness, if that's a word. I think that's a pretty accurate comparison actually, with the mobility, the pocket presence, and then obviously the arm talent. That's surprising. They're showing a graphic where most touchdown passes by a left-handed quarterback. I would have never guessed that Boomer Esiason has more touchdown passes than Steve Young. Maybe his career was longer. I assume so. And I knew Boomer was good, but I would have definitely assumed Steve Young had more. They're showing quarterbacks dropping in the draft. And as much when I talked about Burrow, how exciting it is or would be um, to be, in the room waiting for you. It would be so agonizing to be in the room waiting for your pick to be called. And what's funny is two of the quarterbacks, Quinn and Menzel, both were busts and both were drafted by the Browns. So this is nice. It's actually moving pretty quickly. The Chargers are picking now. So everything literally is going as planned, besides maybe the Herbert Miami debate. But that's pretty good. I also think that's a good pick. I also think he needs to probably sit for a year, not because of health like Tua, but just because he's raw. He's not as talented. He's not as skilled as Tua. He's just a big, massive athlete with a huge arm. A 6'6" guy. Bah, that would be awesome. I was 6'6", you know what I mean? Anyways, so I think it's cool. They'll probably start off with Tyrod Taylor, and then it'll be cool to see what they do with him. Cool. Good.
It says without sugar, Ah, but there's milk in it. But no sugar. Mm-hmm.
He might, he might be in the best scenario out of any of these quarterbacks drafted so far. He, you know, I think Burrow has a good scenario, and it seems like the Dolphins won despite their talent. But, like, if I was looking at offensive weapons, they're by far the best, and that often happens. Not the first. The first guys usually go to terrible scenarios. Like, I mean, the Bengals have better weapons than most first overall picks, right? Like, with AJ Green coming back, Tyler Boyd's good. They had another promising young receiver there. I forget his name. They need a tight end. And then they have Joe Mixon. Their offensive line is terrible. That's the main problem. But at least he has some weapons. The Dolphins, they have Williams as a receiver. They have Devante Parker that came on last year, Mike Gesicki, but they have really young, receiving weapons, probably, just above the Redskins or so. But the Chargers, on the other hand, I think it's Williams for the Dolphins, the young guy. He's kind of under the radar. He was a fantasy darling. But the Chargers, on the other hand, they're loaded. I mean, Austin Eckler is a young quarterback's best friend. Hunter Henry is a young quarterback's best friend. They have Mike Williams with a huge catching radius, and they have one of the premier possession receivers in the league, in Keenan Allen. He might have the most productive start to his NFL career. I don't imagine they start him immediately. I bet him and Tyrod battle it out, and Tyrod might win immediately at the start, because Tyrod is known for not turning the ball over and not losing games for you, which is what you exactly want from a patch/backup quarterback. But if I was Herbert, I'd be feeling really good. Really good. You still get good money with the number 6 overall pick, and you go into a really good scenario. I was right. Preston Williams. So, Preston Williams and Devante Parker is a good duo, but not Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. But not even Tyler Boyd and AJ Green. So, and then when you include the tight end, I mean, Hunter Henry is a premier tight end if he could stay healthy. Good for Herbert. They're showing a Christian McCaffrey commercial. That fucking guy. What a beautiful human being. What a beautiful human being. I mean, he's only the most talented running back, him and Saquon. Maybe talent is tough, but the highest paid and most productive currently. And he just happens to be a beautiful human being and seems like a great person. So, fuck you, Christian. Save some for the rest of us, you know what I mean? This is interesting. This is the Carolina's on the or their pick is in. They're the first team where it's like, they could go in multiple directions. Offensive tackle, defensive line. The Clemson outside linebacker. Derek Brown from Auburn. So defensive tackle is where they go, which is the mock draft that I've been looking at, the WalterFootball.com mock draft, which is a really good site. Ugly site, but a really good site for information and analysis about the NFL. And, I think that's a really, really good pick for them. He seems to be a really sharp kid. I read about that. They're talking about his political aspirations, wants to be a lobbyist, and really seems like his dad was ex-military, so he seems like the type of guy that you would want in your program. The NFL's salute to service, courtesy of James Brown, Derek's father, served in the Army and in the National Guard, and the NFL does not miss a moment. I think it's good, but it's also to honor the people that wear uniforms and do work that most people don't want to do. My brother's actually in the Army, as you guys know if you follow the channel, Captain to Captain. Another episode coming soon. But it's also, the NFL does not miss an opportunity to pump that PR machine either. Yeah, I was surprised that maybe they didn't go with the Clemson guy, because the Clemson guy, Isaiah Simmons, I believe, could have been like the replacement to Davis, which they lost a while ago, and was kind of a staple of that Super Bowl, the Super Bowl team or the NFC Championship team. That, like him next to Kuechly, were the staples of the defense, along with Josh Norman there for a little while. But maybe they wouldn't go after him, but maybe this guy could be a replacement to star Luke Devante, the really productive defensive tackle that was also on that team. So their defense has a lot of holes as well. Now that Kuechly retired, and they've been filling offensive positions with young talent. McCaffrey was a high pick, DJ Moore was a high pick, or at least a first round pick. Curtis Samuel. So going defense is also makes sense. Yeah. Mel Kiper just said something interesting. He said quarterbacks hate pressure in your face, which is exactly true. Like edge rushers, I would take playing against an elite edge rusher, because you have escape lanes. Like if he takes an inside move, you can bounce. If he's upfield, hopefully your tackle can ride him upfield, and you can get underneath and escape through the B gap, which you see a lot of guys. A lot of QBs do step up and go flat. But when you're getting bull rushed or pressure from the A and B gaps, that really sucks. That really sucks. So that's a good point Mel Kiper made. Cardinals are picks in. Good pick. So they went with Isaiah Simmons, which was Mel Kiper's next best available. And this dude's a freak. His he played outside linebacker, comes into projecting play safety. His NFL comparison is Darius Leonard, the superstar, or becoming a superstar outside linebacker for the Colts. And it's like these guys just do everything. They're great in pass coverage. They can rush the quarterback. Great in open field. Guys you need. And the Cardinals are also a team that has invested heavily in offense as of lately. Franchise tagging Drake, drafting. That's funny. He even beat Travis Etienne in the race, the running back. But drafting Kyler Murray, trading for DeAndre Hopkins. Kirk was an early draft. They drafted 2 or 3 receivers last year. Andy Isabella, Akeem Butler. There was another one in the 6th round. I forget his name. But investing in a guy like this on defense can change your defense. They said he might be Isaiah Simmons might be the guy they use to cover Kittle and Man, and it's interesting when you think about that. People do draft based on their division. So if you're going to see George Kittle twice a year, you need to have answers for him. And it was funny. I heard an interview from the Buffalo Bills GM on one of my favorite podcasts, Part of My Tank, and he was talking about they drafted. It's funny, Davis, the guy I was talking about for Carolina that he could replace, but they drafted Davis in part because they were facing Michael Vick twice a year, and they needed speed on the defense to combat Vick's speed. So people do draft to their conference, so I thought that was a good point. The Jaguars went with a corner, which they needed. Jalen Ramsey replacement. Apparently, this dude is really, really good at man coverage. It was C.J. Henderson out of Florida, and actually, the mock drafts projected the Jaguars to go. So everything's chalk so far. It would be. There hasn't been a trade yet. I'm interested to see if somebody would be trading up, and now you have some teams like the Jets and the Raiders who might start taking some of these heralded receivers like a CD Lamb, Jared Judy or Ruggs, or to name a few. So it'll be interesting. Oh, Roger Goodell tried to drum up some tears for the the kid who beat cancer, which is great. But it's funny to see Roger Goodell try to put on some emotion, and it probably is. I mean, everybody has a soft spot for kids with cancer, but haven't seen that before. And the Browns ended up picking that offensive tackle from Alabama that I talked about. Great feet, just a little bit raw, which is good because we talk about replacements, but that's basically with draft picks this early are, is you're replacing usually good players that you had, and that could be a Joe Thomas replacement at left tackle. The Jets are picking now. I think they have to go receiver. I bet CD. Never mind. Another offensive lineman, and not the Iowa kid. That's interesting. I think this is the kid that failed his drug test at the combine, but he's a massive human being. Super surprising. The Jets have been doing heaviest player ever to run a sub 5:40, but they've really invested in the O line this offseason. They've signed several free agents, kept a starting guard, and now drafted an offensive tackle, which for me is, as a Sam Darnold owner in Dynasty football, I'm super happy about that. And maybe they come around in the second and third round since the receivers are so deep. This was also something that could happen. Is there's so many good receivers, 8 to 10 that are really could be super impactful. Oh my God, you see this dude dunking a basketball in high school. These NFL offensive linemen are freaks. But so the thing that they thought could happen is they're so deep that you don't have to take one of these tier 1 because the tier 2 or tier 3 are so good that you can get some of these other elite positions and still come back and get some receivers and even running backs as well. And so because of that, they might push down the board a little bit, which is unfortunate for them, but it makes sense for an NFL team, and I wouldn't be surprised. The Jets have to address receiver in this draft, so maybe just thinking on doing it on day 2. The whole family's huge. His sister is like 2 inches shorter than he is, and he's 6'7". A massive family. Holy crap. The dad is just as tall as the sister. I mean, he's the biggest of them all, but they're not small. And he's a massive, massive human being. The Raiders are up. I was wrong with the Jets about receiver, but I would love the Raiders to pick Henry Ruggs III. You know, Al Davis, rest in peace, had a track record of just draft speed receivers. He was drafting them. You know, Dante Stallworth of the world. I really hope they pick Henry Ruggs. That would just warm my heart to know that tradition is continuing. Yes, yes. They picked Henry Ruggs. Yes. That feels good. That feels right. Some normalcy in this weird world. This dude flies. He is Tyreek Hill comps. I don't know if he's as a complete receiver as Tyreek Hill, or as good with the ball in his hands as Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's uber elusive. This guy's not so elusive. Just flies. And that's nice. That's good. That's really good. And they need it. They had Darren Waller and nobody last year. And even try to get like Zay Jones and some other prospects in. But it's a good pick for the Raiders. I mean, I think Jared Judy and CeeDee Lamb are more complete receivers, but this dude absolutely flies, and I'm glad that tradition lives on. And now San Fran is on, getting rid of, letting Emmanuel Sanders go in free agency, and he signed with the Saints. So they also need a receiver. And now they have their pick of the 2 best receivers in the draft, in my opinion. And if they pick CeeDee Lamb to go across from Deebo Samuels with Kittle working in the middle, not bad. My man Henry Ruggs is wearing a robe. Just wearing a robe with some chains. Hashtag swag, I guess. He also had a Raiders hat, so they must have sent them a bunch of hats. I wonder if they have to send the other ones back, or they just knew, like, come on, the Raiders are going to draft this guy. They have to. Ah, it's an Old Spice robe. Good for him. Good for him. Interesting. Tampa Bay's moving up one slot. Probably to draft the old lineman, maybe from Iowa, maybe, which makes sense to protect Brady. And maybe they were just worried that San Fran would trade out and another team would slip in to get this last tackle because there was 4 kind of really high tackles up on the board. So maybe they're just securing that pick. But I imagine they're swapping picks with San Fran. I imagine San Fran would then move back because they know Tampa Bay probably isn't going to draft a receiver because they're set there. So maybe they just get an additional pick later in the draft. I wonder what pick they had to give up to move up one slot. And for San Fran, that's just an extra pick because they have 2 first-rounders because they traded their defensive tackle, Solomon Thomas, I believe, to the Colts. Yeah, it shows that San Fran is now pick 14, so they just swapped. And then San Fran will still probably get the receiver that they wanted. So the Bucs ended up taking the last highly rated tackle from Iowa, which is a really good decision. You're going to want Brady to stay upright. So, and even if you have to move up one draft pick and make sure you get this guy, because, like I said, San Fran probably would have picked him having McGlinchey and Joe Staley, but going up and making sure somebody else doesn't trade makes sense. All right, back from lunch. You forget. Oh, that looks worse. I gotta do something with that. You can tell it's quarantine mode. You forget how long this thing takes sometimes. It's a 4-hour production. So I'm gonna switch over to the 40 minutes, which is very, very nice.
That, of course, is Las Vegas. And slowly but surely, there are many first evers that are part of this draft. He's 6'3", wide receiver. Perhaps another surprise, but Devante Parker since 2004. There you see Tristan Wirfs. The draft nervousness is over for him, and Bruce Arians and Jason Light hope they have their guy. Bruce is fired up.
Okay, so now the San Fran's back on the clock. Another team that needed a receiver, like I said, CeeDee Lamb earlier. But they go defensive tackle. Again, they traded their defensive tackle, Solomon Thomas, because they wouldn't be able to afford him, to Carolina for that pick, the 13th pick that they traded. So they are replacing Solomon Thomas with another really, really talented defensive tackle on a rookie contract, obviously, which is great. That's going everywhere. Again, another example of maybe the receivers getting pushed down because there's so many. They can go down, they can second round, or maybe even later in the first, because they have 2 first-round draft picks, grab a really talented receiver as well, and come away as a whole better off.
And oh, by the way, the group that works together, they work together for the same goal, not individual achievements, and that's to get the win at the end of the day. That's something I want to be a part of. Well, guess what, Javon? You are a part of it. Javon Kinlaw, now a San Francisco 49er. With the 15th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Jerry Jeudy.
Okay, finally.
Alabama.
The Broncos
Congratulations, Jerry.
also select a receiver, also a receiver-needy team. Jerry Jeudy is
and there you see Jerry
a
Jeudy
really
and
good
family
compliment to
waiting to hear the
Court 7,
official
who I'm a big
news,
fan
but
of. Court
it
7,
is
super duper talented.
the
30-year
best
pro
route runners
will be
he's ever seen.
at SMU. This dude is an elite route runner, and it's a really good landing spot for him. He's going to come in and contribute immediately. And he's such a fluid mover. It's crazy. If you're bored, just go watch him run routes. And his speed cuts and everything, it's really, really impressive. So giving Drew Lock another weapon outside of Court and Noah Fant, that's a really, really nice receiving core for the Broncos. Hopefully that pans out.
And you put Jerry Jeudy in the slot, that is a disaster for any defense when you're trying to stop Drew Lock in the Denver Broncos. Great pick for the Denver Broncos right there, Trey. Yeah, they certainly are. By the way, Alabama has 2 wide receivers in the first round now. It's just the 5th time in the common draft era since 1967 where one school had 2 wideouts go in the first round. John Elway is very happy right now. With the 16th pick
By the way,
in
it's
the
4
2020
Alabama
NFL
players in the
Draft,
top 15.
the Atlanta Falcons select A.J. Terrell, defensive back, Clemson.
Okay. And then,
Well, there you see
I
A.J.
think Marcus
Terrell
Trufant
and
left for
family,
Atlanta,
and it gets
if I believe so.
emotional pretty
Yep,
quickly.
because he was number
ladies and
21. Now
gentlemen.
Gurley's wearing number 21.
Recovery speed at
So
times.
they
Looks like
drafted a kid out of
even though
Clemson who's also
he does
super
have
talented
outstanding speed.
to come in and kind of take his spot. So it's been a lot of people replacing veterans that they lost,
He has good route
which makes a ton
recognition.
of
It's really
sense.
the last third of the down is where I struggled with him as far as his ability to then go ahead and consistently finish. That's where he got into trouble in the national championship game against DeMar Chase. He struggled down the field playing strong at the catch point, but if he can improve that, he'll help the Atlanta Falcons secondary. With the 17th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select C.D. Lamb, wide receiver, Oklahoma.
That's surprising. Excuse
Well,
me.
Dak Prescott just got another weapon to throw
That's
to,
super
and
surprising
C.D.
that they
Lamb
went
is a
DB
weapon
or
in
receiver at
every
the Dallas Cowboys.
shape of the word.
They have
But
Michael
C.D.
Gallup, who
Lamb
is
is
a
a big
fine
play waiting to
number
happen,
2
and there you
receiver
see the
outside of Mark
reaction
Cooper. Just paid
as
up Mark
C.D.
Cooper.
Lamb is coming off the board
And
here. Michael Irvin, we're talking
have
about a
some
player
holes
at
elsewhere as a
Oklahoma
receiver.
that
Not
was a
a
big
position
play
weakness,
almost
but maybe
all the time.
they had him rated really high and just said, hey, we got to take this guy. You got to take the best player available, which they're getting a really, really good, my favorite receiver. He's extremely impressive and fun to watch play football. Really glad I traded Michael Gallup because I don't think Michael Gallup will be able to stay on the field with C.D. Lamb. I mean, this dude's just super impressive. I like Michael Gallup, but he's not C.D. Lamb. And the nice thing about C.D. Lamb is he can play slot and outside, and so can Amari Cooper. And so they're going to be very versatile.
Tough catches in traffic. He can do that. He's a kid who's very explosive. He'll take that big hit, hold on to the football. With the 18th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Austin Jackson, tackle, USC. You know what just happened? Roger Goodell tipped the pick. He said we got good news for Tua. You knew it had to be an offensive lineman.
That's great.
And there is
Miami
Austin
came back
Jackson, first team
from picking
All-Pac-12
Tua
out
to
of
picking
USC as a
offensive
junior
tackle.
last year.
Not
Ran
bad.
the
That's
40
5
at
offensive tackles in the first
5.07 at the
18
combine at
picks.
6'5",
O-line
322
is
pounds.
important. And also, they're hard to come by. Really good offensive linemen are hard to come by. And that's why a lot of free agents, good free agents, make a ton of money. And that's why they're drafted really early, because they're really, really difficult to find.
As the year progressed, he's only 20 years old. I don't know that he's
And not
able
having an
to
O-line
step on the
can
field
ruin
right now and be an
as
impact
to
tackle.
Cleveland.
But Lewis, the
Or, not
upside with
Cleveland.
this
Well,
kid
Cleveland
is
wasn't
off
great.
the charts
It
because of
hasn't
his
been great.
ability to bend his
But
knees
ask
and move. He's an
Cincinnati Bengals.
outstanding athlete. Number 19, and there you see Austin Jackson and family celebrating. And as we just told you, it is absolutely something that is very important to Austin Jackson family. Austin Jackson there went through that procedure, is now with Brian Flores. Thumbs up all the way around. And now, with the 19th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Damon Arnett, defensive back, Ohio State. All right, first of all, congratulations to Las Vegas getting the mulligan. We'll be there in a couple years as we will do the draft from there. But this is a fascinating decision here on a lot of levels by Damon Arnett. This was a kid that had basically decided his college career was over a year ago at cornerback. And
The Las Vegas Raiders came back with another
season
defensive
Ohio
back.
State. But then it was a conversation
The second
with his
defensive back from
father,
Ohio State taken.
Chris Carter, the
It's crazy
Ohio
how
State
much of this
Buckeye
talent
wide
comes
receiver
from the
Hall of
same
Famer,
schools.
that said you need to
That's
come back
multiple
for another
Bama
year of
players,
school
multiple
to
Ohio
be the
State
best player
players.
you can be. He's very good at staying patient at the line,
Really,
very
the rich
physical
get
with his
richer,
hands,
you know.
very physical down the field
In
as
college
far
football,
as not
it's
allowing
very
wide
heavily
receivers to create
concentrated on.
separation with their body.
On certain
And he
teams,
is a
and
guy
that's why
who's
you've
a
seen
finisher. I think it's
only a
little
certain
higher
amount
than
of
maybe some
teams
people
make the
expected,
college football
but when you
playoffs
break
on a
down his
year-and-out
game,
basis. It's really
he really is a good
8
cover
teams
corner who really should
that are
develop into a
kind of
big
vying
league
for it on
corner.
a yearly
With
basis,
the
and it's
20th
always
pick
the
in the
Bamas,
2020
the
NFL
Clemsons, the
Draft,
Ohio States, etc.
the Jacksonville Jaguars select Devante Parker, linebacker, LSU.
Speaking of richer, get richer, another
Well, there you see
LSU
Caleb
player.
Chason and company getting set to know that they are moving down to Jacksonville. Caleb Chason is a tour de
Jaguars
force.
pick
He
in
played
outside
his
linebacker.
best at the end of the season. Over the last 4 games, including the SEC Championship and the playoffs, 5 sacks.
Without a doubt, Trey. You talk about a guy that provides scheme versatility. 3-4, 4-3. He's at his best, though, when he puts
He's
his
a,
hand down.
He's an outside pass rusher, like a stand-up outside linebacker, which is interesting. Maybe because they drafted
In a 4-3, he can be a defensive end. Outside
stand-up
linebacker, 3-4,
pass
he has
rushing
the
outside linebacker
coverage.
last
Dave
year.
Aranda,
His
now
name
became
slipping,
coach
but
at
super
Baylor.
talented
Rocky
player, one of the
Perfect
best
also.
defensive
Caleb Von Chason was the second
rookies
best
last
pass
year.
rusher in this
And they
class,
have a
Lewis,
defensive
and
end
I think
slash
they got
pass
a steal
rusher
right
kind
here
of holding
because
out and
getting
wanting
such
to
a
be traded.
dynamic
So
player
maybe
that has scheme
that's why
versatility.
they're preparing
Yeah, very
for
athletic
him
up
not
front
to
now
be
for
a
the Jacksonville
Jaguar.
Jaguars, Lewis. And I'd also add this kid getting number 18 is a big deal at LSU. With the 21st pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Jalen Reagor, wide receiver, TCU.
Interesting. You know, Philly was going to pick
Michael
a
Irvin, a lot of
receiver,
people were very impressed
and
with
you
Jalen
know,
Reagor.
there's a top tier
And I was
between
impressed with Mo, so he's another one of those guys.
Excuse
Small
me.
guy, but can go
Between
when
Ruggs,
he gets that football in his hands. He only ran a 4.47
Lamb,
at the
and
combine,
Judy, and
but
you
he's
were wondering who's
faster
going to be that
than
next
that
guy.
clock.
Would it be
So
T.
he
Higgins?
has a 42-inch
Would it be
vertical. And we don't know what's
Reagor?
happening
Would
with
it be
Deshaun Watson.
Mims from
They need his
Baylor? There's
speed,
kind of like a
and then when he got
five-person
speed,
tier.
Reagor is a great pick for the
And Reagor didn't have a very
Philadelphia
good
Eagles to go with
2019
Carson Wentz.
because he was playing with a freshman quarterback, and
And
just
Howie
TCU wasn't
Roseman
very good.
is hoping that Jalen Reagor will
So that's
provide
interesting that
nightmares for all the teams that
they
have
graded
to
him the
play
highest,
the
and
Eagles
this is a
in
good
the
place to go
NFC.
for Jalen Reagor because they need
With the
receivers.
22nd pick in the 2020 draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Justin Jefferson, wide receiver,
Vikings
LSU.
also need a receiver, and now the run starts,
Here's
right?
where you're about to find
So now
out.
this is the fifth
Sometimes
receiver in the first round. So 5
drafting
offensive
is kind
tackles,
of like high school
5
recruiting.
receivers,
It's not an exact science.
and
Seeing how
5
they
Saints
mesh this
pick.
together is
Who was the
going to
first
be
one?
very
Right, to 12.
interesting. But
So
this
5
kid
receivers
flat
in
out
11
played
picks.
football.
And Justin
Made
Jefferson
great
was another
plays
one
deep,
who was going to be in
made
that
plays
second
over
tier
top of
along with
people,
Jalen Reagor.
and when he does get the ball in his hands, he can take choice short passes.
He is
and make
super duper talented, but
long
mainly
plays
from the slot.
out
So
of them.
that's
Justin
interesting that they
Jefferson
wouldn't go for a
going to
more
Minnesota.
split
Say,
out
DJ,
like
that's going to be a great pick.
Stephon
There
Diggs
is
was.
Justin Jefferson. Again,
Jefferson
a
is more of a
replacement
polished
for what
slot
they lost
receiver,
when they got this pick, Stephon Diggs.
and so maybe that puts
The
the
New
speed
England
in more
Patriots have
outside.
traded the 23rd pick to the Los Angeles Chargers.
Oh,
With the
what was that?
23rd pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Kenneth Murray and Diggs. The New England Patriots have traded
So the
the
Patriots
23rd
traded
pick
back, of
to
course.
the Los Angeles Chargers.
I'm surprised they
With
didn't.
the
Maybe
23rd
went
pick
with Love.
in the
That would have been
2020
interesting.
NFL Draft,
But they
the
traded
Los
back like they
Angeles
usually
Chargers
do.
select Kenneth Murray, linebacker.
And the Chargers
Oklahoma.
traded back up and took an inside linebacker from Oklahoma. Again,
Getting a
Rich
three-down
Richard, another
linebacker train
Oklahoma
who
player.
absolutely can just
joined
wreak
CeeDee
havoc
Lamb.
from sideline to sideline. I
And
thought Kean diagnosed his eyes.
it's not surprising. Just think of all these first-round draft picks you have.
Inserted
Yeah.
downhill with tremendous
You know,
physicality
Auburn,
on a consistent
Florida,
basis. He's got to play with a ton of
Clemson,
energy. He's one of those guys who
Ohio
really does
State,
neutralize the
Bama.
second level of the
It's
field
all
for the
your
defense and get
your
back to the quarterbacks or
powerhouses.
tight ends. I love this pick for the
With like
Chargers. They needed an
Louisville
upgrade in
and
speed
Iowa
and playmaking
sprinkled in.
ability at the second level, and they've got it with Kenneth
It's
Murray for
really
sure, Booger.
With the
interesting to watch
24th
that type
pick
of stuff.
in the 2020 NFL Draft,
Minnesota back
New
up.
Orleans Saints select Cesar Ruiz, center, Michigan.
Excuse me. So it's the Saints, and they picked up
Versatility,
a
Trey. You got a guy who
center,
started at
and then now the
guard,
Vikings are on the
5
clock.
starts at right guard early on, then the last 2 years anchoring
center
that
out of
Michigan
Michigan.
Wolverine line. Appeared in 36 games, 31
I think
career
offensive
starts,
line is
26
a
at center,
staple
5
of,
at right guard. Think about a guy
of
who
the New
run
Orleans
block.
Saints. They
Head up,
typically
move,
draft
before we get to the second level.
offensive linemen
Pass
really high. There's
protection,
a couple
good technique, facing
O-linemen
and
for the
mirroring
Saints
and
that nobody
re-anchor.
ever hears like a guard,
The
but he's one of
Minnesota
the best in
Vikings
the
have
league.
traded the 25th pick to the San Francisco 49ers.
So Minnesota traded out
With
the
the
same thing.
25th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver,
Another
Arizona
receiver
State.
that's actually a really good pick.
All right,
Brandon
Daniel Jeremiah,
Ayuk
nicely
is a
done.
nice
Brandon
compliment
Ayuk is indeed
to,
the selection,
to,
so that's the second
Debo.
straight year.
And he's that
Folks, up for
traditional
Edwards, and
outside
an
receiver. That's a
Arizona State
huge
Sun Devil
landing
wide
spot for
receiver
him.
has gone in the
He was
first
kind of
round.
in the bottom of
I
that
tell you, it's a blessing
second
from
tier
God
receivers
to
I was
have
talking
that
about, especially
reach.
fantasy
I call
football
that
wise.
an area code wide receiver.
He's going to
You put the ball
skyrocket up the
anywhere, you
board,
put the ball
being in San
anywhere
Fran and
in the
taking over
area
from
code,
Emmanuel
and he
Sanders.
will make that play. And
I
you
mean, he's going to
matching
be
up
right in
against
there with
Kyle
the conversation
Shanahan,
of
that genius of an offensive mind, a guy like
CeeDee
Brandon
Lamb
Ayuk,
and-
who can
and
make plays with the ball,
Judy
as
and
you're
Ruggs.
watching right here on the
I
screen.
think, because
I
that's
mean, it's going to be a great
it's an
combination.
awesome
to
landing spot.
with that young group they
That
have in San
receiver spot for
Francisco.
San Fran would have skyrocketed somebody, and if the
Miami
Chiefs
Dolphins
draft a
have
running back,
traded
they
the
skyrocket.
26th pick to the
It's a
Green Bay Packers.
similar landing spot.
With the 26th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Jordan Love, quarterback.
I heard a mock draft of this.
Okay, this is
So the
fascinating
Packers
because I
opt
believe
not to
Aaron
draft Jordan.
Rodgers
Excuse me,
is
the
the same
Patriots
age
at 23. They trade
Brett
out of the
Favre
pick,
was in
and then the Packers end up
2005
drafting
when they selected
Jordan Love.
Aaron
I
Rodgers
wonder-
in the first round.
I
Well,
wonder
hey, yeah, I am
how
surprised a little bit.
Aaron Rodgers is going to feel about it, but it's a
Aaron
perfect
Rodgers.
landing spot, right?
Gonna play
Everybody
a
was
few
talking
more
about Jordan
years,
Love
but
being super off.
win now and
Needs
wants
to sit
have
behind
some
somebody to
weapons
learn.
around him to give him the
But how
firepower to
long
be
are you going to
successful.
let
But
a
As you mentioned
quarterback
before,
like
it's worked out pretty well for him when they went and got Aaron
Love,
Rodgers
like a
when
first round
Lamar had a
pick, how
couple
long are you
years
gonna let him
left.
sit
So now they're just building for the
behind
future.
somebody? You
A
know,
lot of
if it was
people
Aaron
compare
Rodgers,
this
I think
guy
it's
to
3 years.
Patrick Mahomes. He's got that
So
upside,
that puts a
athleticism,
clock, maybe
ability to
puts a
make
clock
some
on
of those
how
special
long
throws that Green Bay has seen
Aaron
for a
Rodgers
number
is
of
going
years
to be in
with Aaron Rodgers. So it's about
in,
preparing for the future, getting that next quarterback.
in Green
But
Bay, and
I am a
Love
bit
is
surprised
a
because I
really
know Aaron
interesting
Rodgers
fit
is
because
thinking, get me
he's
some
like,
more
he
weapons.
kind
I
of has
want to
some
win more before I
Aaron
retire.
Rodgers in him. He's
So with
super
the 27th
on-top
pick
mobile.
in the
He's a poor
2020
man's
NFL
Mahomes.
Draft,
People have been
the Seattle
saying.
Seahawks select Jordan Brooks, linebacker, Texas Tech.
The
Well,
Seahawks
this is
select a
interesting because
inside
I had
linebacker
one coach tell me this week,
Not
I wish
fantasy
people would
relevant,
stop putting Jordan Brooks in their
from
mock
Texas
draft.
Tech.
We love this kid. We don't want everybody to know him. But you look at the numbers there, 367 tackles. He led the Red Raiders in tackles 2016, 2018, and 2019. You look at what he's doing on the field and the production
That's
that
like
Lewis has
that's
just
like one of
been
those picks
incredible.
where it's not a sexy pick at all, and people like me don't have a lot to say about it, but probably going to help the football team.
Basically lines up as Mike Backer in both base and sub. Now he is a guy who really can get after it from a point of attack standpoint and coming downhill. Now he's a guy who in coverage, I struggled with him a little bit as far as his zone coverage awareness and his man coverage exposure. You don't see him doing a lot of that, but when he is able to key and diagnose, like you see right here, he can come and he will bring it and he will bring the wood. With the 28th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Patrick Queen, linebacker, LSU.
So Ravens pick a linebacker
It was
out
his
of
interception right
LSU,
before the half
another
that
LSU
led
player.
to LSU's halftime lead over Alabama,
Makes it 3 in the first round.
33-13. Had a
So,
sack in each of the regular
again,
season finale
same,
against A&M and the
repeat what I
SEC
said from
championship
the
game.
last one. It's
And he
not
was all over Clemson in the
not a
national
sexy
title
pick,
game.
but
2.5
probably going to
sacks
help
for
the
loss
football team a
and a
lot.
half a sack to go
And
along
probably
with
really good
8
for the
tackles.
defense because their
He may
defense
not
is
be the
super
biggest
old
guy,
and
only
a lot of
6 foot
veterans.
and
So get
229
some
pounds.
young
His ability to drop
talent
back
in
in
there,
coverage,
especially
see
because
ball, hit ball, diagnose play,
excuse me,
and go
last year
and
they
put a
lost
thumping on a running back was evident in the game against
Mosley
Clemson. I
to
just
the
love his
Jets.
coverage ability.
They're
There
kind of
several
staple
times
of
in
their
the game
inside
against Clemson where it was a screenplay, whether
inside
it
of
was
the
zone
defense. So
coverage,
this
he
guy could
made a
probably step
tackle,
in and
and if
help
he
them.
didn't make it, it was a touchdown.
Yeah, I think this Patrick Queen, he matches up as far as the cerebral part of the game and the physical part of the game. The guy plays smart. He key and diagnoses instantly, and he's a guy who then can get off the spot, and he is flying.
With the 29th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans
Tennessee
select
Titans on the clock.
Isaiah Wilson, tackle, Georgia.
Another tackle from Georgia.
They're going
Good
beef.
for
So that's the second offensive
Georgia.
lineman
So,
from Georgia off the board. You saw Andrew Thomas go
Nice
much
pick for a
earlier.
team that is committed to the running game and offensive tackle. That makes, I believe, 6 offensive tackles, 7 offensive linemen in total with a center being
Can be
picked.
dominant driving defenders off the ball. When he has the proper leverage,
Pretty-
again, capable
pretty
of taking the second
important,
level. It's also
obviously.
a little mixed at times. And pass
Obviously, so
protection.
the first round has been
decent
dominated by
Yeah, he's gonna be the first one off the bus,
O-linemen,
though, Mel, I can promise you that.
receivers,
I mean, he
and
looks like
quarterbacks.
he's a
So
wrestler.
7 O-linemen, I
mean, he's
believe,
enormous.
5
And we saw him
receivers,
move
4.
really well.
Oh,
How
look
about
at
what
this
you in
guy.
terms of what you see in the run
Look at
game?
Mike Vrabel's
With the
son with a
30th pick
mullet.
In the 2020
Jesus.
NFL
Of
Draft,
course.
the Miami Dolphins select
Miami's third pick.
Noah Igbenogany, defensive back, Auburn.
Another corner, so that's the
Okay,
fourth corner, I
somewhat of a
believe.
surprise here because remember they paid Byron Jones and Xavier Howard all that money.
Yeah, that's
to be
interesting.
the
They
top two
paid
paid corners in the
they paid
NFL,
veteran
and now they take another
DBs
corner.
to stay one of the few veterans they hang on to.
Turn corner, so I still
And,
look raw. But the kid's
you
got
know, with a
let
team
down.
with a lot of
Now,
holes,
kick return. We get those
they could have gone
XFL
anywhere
rules, but you get the kick
with
return
that
game
pick, but
back in.
obviously
He
they
can
must
be a
have had this
huge
guy
weapon,
rated
but he's
very,
got
very highly.
recovery speed, improving cover skills. Think about a guy
Auburn,
self press
another
coverage. He did a good job
Auburn
in
player.
terms of showing physicality.
I think
Made
that's
some
the
nice
second
balls,
one.
plays on the ball underneath. You can do a better job at times. You're locating the ball on the deeper routes. He's a little inconsistent there. With the 31st pick in the 2020
Minnesota
NFL
back in
Draft,
because they traded
the
out
Minnesota
from San
Vikings
Fran.
select Jeff Gladney, defensive back, TCU.
Another corner. So
All right,
you can
Lewis,
kind of
tell
see
a little bit about Jeff Gladney,
where the deepest
quarterback
position
out of
was,
TCU.
but
He's been dealing with
deepest
some
positions
knee
were, but
injuries,
also
obviously people feel pretty strong about
the
what his
important
ability.
positions and what people really invest in.
Yeah, this is another guy who has a lot of
Is
upside, a lot of potential,
getting
a
after
lot of
quarterbacks,
speed. He just
protecting the
really
quarterbacks,
needs to
getting after the
develop
quarterbacks,
his ability to finish on
and
the football the last time
defending,
down. But you can see here, just
or
getting
getting
the wide
people to
receiver
quarterbacks.
the
Still
sideline,
defending those people. So
staying
it's
in
very
and
much a
throwing
passing
high
league.
point
There has
with
been
the
some
football. And
linebackers,
he's
but
one of the guys that can get up on the line of
it's
scrimmage
pretty
and press.
interesting
He's shown pretty good
with a
zone coverage
talented
awareness
running
and
back
tackle
class.
against the
You know,
run.
you kind of
With
it's
the
rare to see running
32nd
backs
pick
drafted in the
in
first
the
round or as much, but
2020
not a
NFL
single
Draft,
one. Kansas City needs one though, so
Super
maybe
Bowl
they'll draft
champion,
one.
Kansas City Chiefs
And they can have
select
their best.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire,
Clyde
running
Edwards-Helaire,
back, LSU.
running back from LSU. Another
Sometimes
LSU
you
player.
just have a
Super
hunch.
duper surprising.
Clyde
He
Edwards-Helaire was a fascinating running
he was
back for
all
them
over the
this past
place
season. How about this?
in
Well,
kind of
it
like
is
fantasy
definite,
football
Steve,
mock
because
drafts,
you
but
think about
you
Cloud,
know,
it was
as
a
an
bear
NFL
last year,
football
the
player,
LSU
a lot of
offense.
mock drafts,
It's
they
gonna be
had
a
him
very
rated
similar
as one of the
offense
top
with Patrick Mahomes.
running
He can
backs,
cut
And
inside
him
and
going
outside
to
as
the
far as
Chiefs,
hiding behind those big offensive linemen. He's only 5'8", but if you
again,
look at
like I
his
said,
change of
San Fran
direction,
for receiver
the
for
ability
landing
to get
spot,
in and out of
Chiefs
the
for
cuts,
running backs in
and
the
then
landing
the
spot.
area where I think
And
he's going to
him being with Andy
pay
Reid,
huge dividends for the Kansas City
oof.
Chiefs, catching the football.
So Brandon
out of the
Ayuk's going to
backfield,
shoot up the
tough
board,
runner, but
and
he's a
Clyde
three-down
Edwards-Helaire is
player,
going
and
to
this
shoot
is
up the
what
ball. I
you
mean,
have
he's
to
going
have
to
in
be
today's
the first
NFL.
running
Not
back
just a runner
drafted
inside or
in
outside,
fantasy
but you better
football
have
as well now,
somebody
because
that can catch the football.
that is
Now, he
a
needs to work on his
such
pass protection, which I'm
perfect
sure
landing
Andy
spot for
Reid,
him.
Brad Veach knows, but they got a really, really good football player in Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
When you combine him with Damian Williams, you have a heck of a 1-2 punch, DJ, that's going to make them even more lethal on offense.
So that's the end of my first round initial reaction. Things I'm pretty excited about, especially, of course, I look at things through mainly a fantasy football lens, but also an NFL lens as well. But Brandon Ayuk to San Fran, that's huge for his value and a really good position need filled. I mean, the San Fran did a really nice job filling D tackle and filling receiver, probably two of the biggest needs of a team that doesn't have that many holes. Obviously, Clyde Edwards-Helaire to the Chiefs is big. Andy Reid drafting a running back in the first round. It's going to be very interesting to watch. I think he's a really, really good fit. People are saying, comparing him to Brian Westbrook, who was obviously very, very successful with Andy Reid as well. Then how is Aaron Rodgers going to react to the Packers picking quarterback in the first round? And how long does that put a clock on him in Green Bay? I mean, he's like a part owner, so probably not. But you're not going to have a guy that you drafted in the first round sit the bench for his entire rookie contract, which is a first rounder, which will be 5 years. So maybe light at the end of the tunnel for Aaron Rodgers. And then a lot of offensive tackles, a lot of corners, a lot of receivers. The Raiders warming my heart by picking the fastest receiver in the draft, like usual. And then, Miami picking Tua, I like. Herbert going to Los Angeles, I like. A lot of good picks. No obvious, like, that's stupid. A lot of people filling holes of veterans that left. And I'm excited to see the second and third round. I'm excited to see day two. Still a lot of good football players available, especially at skill players, running backs, receivers, no tight end in a weak tight end class. It'll be interesting. I love watching the draft. And like I said, I woke up early this morning, couldn't fall asleep last night. So I'm very, very excited for tomorrow and seeing the rest of the draft. If you guys like what you see, or you're not familiar with what I do, there's a link to my podcast, and my podcast is the main thing I produce. These videos are supplement to the podcast. If you like what I have to say about football, or you're entertained, click that link, follow my podcast. I put out almost daily content during this time to try to bring a smile to your face, and that's the main goal. So I will see you guys again. I think the plan moving forward is I'm going to be giving a review of the second and third round, not like this, not live or a video review, just a normal podcast, and then have some people back on to talk about it, the NFL impact of these rookies, who won the draft, who didn't win the draft, some interesting prospects drafted later in the draft, and also fantasy implications, which is really what I'm interested in. And then the dynasty rookie drafts start at the end of next week. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe, follow my podcast, and take care of yourself, guys. Ciao, cacao.